tip to the tongue to the T to the tire. Me, my, mo, me, my, mo, me, my, mo, me, my, mo. All right, let's rock and roll. How's everybody doing? Casper Villa here. Thank you for tuning in to the Lakers versus Nuggets pregame episode. Want to let all the viewers out there know that leading up to the matchup, gonna be posting a pregame episode to kind of share my pointers as to what the Lakers need to do in order to capture the victory. Now they are facing the Denver Nuggets, heading out to the Mile High City, where the Lakers are looking to capture their first win of the season as they are 0-3 to start. Just some injury news and notes reported by our very own Dave McMenamin. Russell Westbrook is dealing with a left hamstring injury. Now, as you are aware, it was an injury that was sustained in regards to Russ not being used to coming off the bench, his body and everything. He has this routine. He's been playing a certain way for his whole entire life, and he was just not able to get in the kind of rhythm he needed when he comes off the bench, and dealt with some kind of hamstring injury. And I guess it popped back up again out of the blue in the midst of all these trade speculations and Darvin Ham talking about not having time to care about people's feelings, so to speak. Coming to Spotify, Darvin Ham's Can I Buy You a Feeling? You have Kendrick Perkins going up on First Take and proclaiming that the Lakers need to send him home. So all of this news cycling around the Lakers organization, around Russell Westbrook, and of course we have Magic Johnson's comments, which I will get into a little bit later in the episode. But yes, you have all of that circulating around Russ, but he is most likely going to miss this game against the Denver Nuggets. We also have Michael Porter Jr., who is day-to-day dealing with his back injury. Of course, the Denver Nuggets have their laundry list of injuries as they're trying to get themselves acclimated, get themselves back into some chemistry and routine. They're 2-2. Hasn't necessarily been, a dominant 2-2, or hasn't been a poor 2-2, but they have won 2 games. That is 2 more than our Los Angeles Lakers. Look, the talk of the town, the talk of this team thus far has been their lack of shooting, has been their inability just to simply score points. Or I should say simply make 3-point shots, because it's not that they're having challenges making shots per se. It's that they're having an incredible, arduous task making 3-point shots. So in a matchup where you are facing Nikola Jokic, aka the Joker, arguably one of the most polished, one of the most talented bigs in the NBA, he is most certainly going to have his hands full going up against Anthony Davis, and vice versa. It's going to be a matchup of 2 of the most unicorn-esque bigs in the game going toe-to-toe. Nikola Jokic has improved himself as a defensive player as well. So it's going to be a nice early test. We've seen Anthony Davis be able to, from a defensive standpoint, really show his impact. I felt the last game against Portland, he did a fantastic job just creating that impact on the defensive end. But we're going to need to see AD dominate in this matchup. And not just first half domination, not talking about first quarter domination. I'm not talking about the nation of domination. I'm talking about Anthony Davis playing 48 minutes of imposing basketball on both sides of the floor. But more than anything, I want to see Anthony Davis kind of take the reins, demonstrate the level of dominance that we've all been expecting to see, especially on the offensive end. One of the main objectives, or one of the main points, or I should say takeaways that I would like to see, is more field goal attempts from AD inside, seeing that mid-range game show itself, begin to knock some of that down. And the real indicative marker in which I know that Anthony Davis is truly making his impact inside: free throws. I am going to make a challenge to Anthony Davis to get to the free throw line, and I'm going to write it here so I remember it too. I'm going to make the challenge of Anthony Davis getting to the free throw line 15 times in this game. 15 times. That should be the low mark. 15, at least 15 trips to the free throw line. Obviously, want to see him make those free throws at a high clip. With that, it's going to demonstrate to me that he's imposing himself inside, that he's making it a challenge on the defense to have to defend him inside. And most importantly, it will be indicative to the overall aggressive nature in which Anthony Davis is playing with. So 15 trips to the free throw line for Anthony Davis, shooting higher than 80%, is my first challenge of this game. First challenge of this game. Understanding that you're playing in Mile High, altitude, all these things. We know that the Denver Nuggets and just really any teams that come into Denver, it's a very challenging it's a very challenging task to match the level of energy, the level of pace. But another keynote that I would love to see the Lakers show themselves, the turnover mark. Now, the Lakers have been doing a pretty good job thus far in limiting their turnovers. Of course, in relations to what they showed last season, years before, they've done a pretty good job of not turning over the ball. I was going to say maximizing their possessions, but protecting the basketball first and foremost. We'll get to that second part of maximizing their possessions. But the first part of the equation, protecting the basketball. So the same will continue, especially when you're playing on the road. We know that playing at home is a challenge, but when you're on the road, when you're playing a team like Denver that likes to push the ball, they have a very high tempo. You can get susceptible to turning the ball over. You can get susceptible to having bad possessions, which then will blow you out of any chances of winning the game. So I've always believed, especially when you're on the road, keeping the game within single digits. If you can keep it within, I say like 5 to 7 points is usually kind of a deficit, especially on the road. You can keep it manageable. And I believe the Lakers focusing in on their turnovers, maximizing their possessions, taking care of the basketball. If they can get, I'm going to say the mark, 12 turnovers or less in this one, guys. Or I should say y'all. 12 turnovers or less in this one. I believe if the Lakers can control that aspect of I believe if the Lakers can control that category, they will put themselves in a much better position to win this game. And my last point. I talked about statement games. I talked about your superstars showing up in that crunch sequence, the last 5 minutes of the game, when your team is 5 points or less, whatever the deficit is, because I'm anticipating this is going to be a close game. This is the stretch. This is the point of emphasis where your superstars need to be superstars. So the statements, I'm just saying it, statements. Statements. Got to make statements. It's all about statements. Making statements. I've talked about, or I should say I alluded in my last episode about superstars rising to the occasion, recognizing the circumstance, the magnitude of the situation, and being able to elevate their game accordingly. We saw Damian Lillard do it last game, dropping 45. We've been seeing Devin Booker, Steph Curry, Ja Morant, thus far, really making the type of statement games that is required from their superstars. We need a statement game out of Anthony Davis. Like, I understand that LeBron is someone that, as I alluded again to other episodes, somebody that likes to kind of weigh out the feel of the game. And I've made it a point of emphasis to be a little bit more assertive, that he also needs to kind of set the tone. But I believe with this game and having Jokic and, having the sentiment that, Jokic is the best center in the league, that he is the most revered, the most polished center in the league, I would like Anthony Davis to take this personal, and I would love to see him drop 30 tonight. Okay? 30 plus. It doesn't seem unreasonable, does it? I mean, we've seen this guy do it before. We've seen him put up 45. We've seen him put up 50. Okay? I want him to take this game personal against Nikola Jokic. I want him to utilize his defense, of course, but I want him to most importantly assert himself offensively, and I want him to take the challenge, and I want him to lead this team in the aggressive tone that it needs. I want him to be the guy that puts the team on his shoulders, because again, when it all boils down to it, this team is going to go as far as Anthony Davis' play takes them. We know the importance of LeBron. We understand the value of what LeBron brings to the team. But Anthony Davis is the difference maker. We've known that. We've heard Darvin Ham make his comments that this team is going to go as far as Anthony Davis rises to the challenge, as far as he wants it to, right? As far as he can put it on his shoulders and say, you know what? I can handle this. I can be the franchise player. I can be the number one player. Now, I know there's some cautionary pause. I know that we collectively hold our breath when we see Anthony Davis just simply hit the floor. But this is one of those games where I'm expecting 30 plus from Anthony Davis. And I believe that he should make that a challenge to himself, because going to the comments alluding after the loss to Portland, he maintained that you want to keep even keel, right? You don't want to get too high. You don't want to get too low. If you were to lose 7 in a row, if you were to win 7 in a row, you want to keep that even keel. Well, you know what, Anthony Davis? I want you to dominate the Joker, okay? I want you to say, you know what? Enough words, okay? Enough words. I'm going to let my actions speak for itself. So you know what? Go ahead and take on this challenge against Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets, and let's go ahead and get this victory. All right? Let's get off the snide and let's get this victory. All right. Let's go ahead and shift gears to the last topic of the episode. Magic Johnson appeared on Shannon Sharpe's Club Shay show, where he basically wanted to get his insights as to what he feels is happening with the Los Angeles Lakers, but most importantly, what's transpiring with Russell Westbrook. Let's go ahead and give that a look.
That's what Russell got to do.
Right.
Quit trying to fight the media, quit trying to fight the fans, and just say, you know what? I didn't play well, but I'm going to play better.
Right.
And go out there on the court and perform.
Right.
That's how you stop all the things that's going on. But you can't do it by trying to combat them.
Right.
And trying to be mad at the fans or at the media.
Again, that was Magic Johnson giving his take on the whole Russell Westbrook situation as he appeared on Shannon Sharpe's Club Shay. Wanted to also bring up that wasn't shown in that clip, but Magic Johnson also reiterated that Russell Westbrook just needs to take more accountability. I think a lot of the times, or most of the things that get fans irate and incredibly frustrated is the lack of accountability, this sense of tone deafness, right? Even just the game where he didn't make a shot, he went 0 for 11, the fact that your response to, evaluating your play and your response is solid. I mean, it's okay to have accountability. It's okay to say, I did not play well. It's okay to say, I did not shoot the ball well. I need to make adjustments. I need to make improvements. Magic Johnson even brought up some examples that he experienced as a Los Angeles Laker. Of course, we know the whole Paul Westhead situation and, wanting, kind of demanding the trade or either firing Paul Westhead or trading Magic Johnson. And we know kind of the backlash that he received because of it. But it just motivated him to play even harder, right? It motivated him to kind of show to the fans of Los Angeles, look, you might be mad at me right now, but trust me, baby, right? Trust me, I'm gonna make you love me again. And then there was even the struggles that he had, that Magic Johnson brought up, the struggles that he had in the Boston series, where the infamous tragic magic phrase was uttered from our fan base. Look, just a quick note. I was at a Los Angeles Laker game when the crowd all chanted, F you, Kobe. So, this fan base can be tough. I'm not saying that not saying it's always the most valid reasoning, but we're gonna let you know we're gonna be tough. I guess that's why they call that's why it's short for fanatics, right? Or fans short for fanatics, because we're just crazy. Does that make me crazy? But it basically Magic Johnson brought up these examples to demonstrate that look, even someone as iconic, as successful as I was as a Los Angeles Laker, I felt the pressure and the criticism. And rather than deflecting it, rather than kind of turning and just kind of being, like I said, just naive about it, you address it and you hold yourself accountable. Now, I will say this. As much as, first and foremost, Magic Johnson will go down as probably, I'll say, my second favorite Laker. At the time when I watched him as a young kid, when I saw that devastating day where he had to leave the NBA, where he had to leave the Lakers and he retired, I cried. I cried uncontrollably. I believe I was only in second grade or third grade at the time, and I was just bawling my eyes out because I did not know why Magic Johnson was not going to play anymore. So there will always be this deep admiration and appreciation for what Magic Johnson brought to not only to the city of Los Angeles, but most importantly, what he has brought to the Los Angeles Lakers and just the community itself. But I will say, the accountability aspect in regards to Magic Johnson, there are some things that he can hold himself accountable to. Maybe not as a player, but maybe as a, I don't know, as,
So today, I'm going to step down as a president. I think that I had more fun when I was able to be the big brother and ambassador to everybody. You know, I thought about Dwayne Wade retiring tomorrow, and I can't even tweet it out or can't be there. You know, and so when Ben Simmons called and we went through the proper channels and they made me look like the bad guy out of that situation, but I didn't do anything wrong, but do everything right. And so she doesn't know I'm standing here.
Mm-hmm. And then I start hearing, you know, Magic, you're not working hard enough. Magic's not in the office. So people around the Laker office was telling me, Rob was saying things, and
Rob Pelinka,
and I didn't like.
maybe I just wasn't cut out for the job, right? Maybe you just say, you know what, I'm stepping down because I'm just not cut out for the job. Neither here nor there, but I'm just saying that the accountability can kind of be a little murky when it comes to Magic Johnson. But nevertheless, like I agree in the most part that, and look, it's an arduous task. It's an arduous challenge to be in the situation that Russ is in. And and first and foremost, I want to preface this because I know that in these episodes, it might sound like I'm supporting Russ, that I'm like I'm in that all defense for Russ. And I'm not. Like, I believe in one of my first episodes or so that I did, I made it quite clear that the Los Angeles Lakers looking to acquire Russell Westbrook was the worst idea they can do. And I'm not going to say ever because there's been far worse, but it was just, it was a lot worse in this case because the Lakers were not necessarily, they were not in a position where they needed to make such a drastic move to get them back into contention, to get them back to where we were, to where they were a few seasons ago. And to know that there were just a few supplementary moves that they could have made. Of course, the Buddy Hield trade, but there were other moves prior that the Lakers could have made to supplement improving the roster than going out and pursuing Russ. So I just want to make that clear that it's kind of gotten to the point with Russ where I already know what to expect from Russ. But at the same time, like, you don't want to dig yourself into this incredibly deep trench of a hole because you're trying to get out of a situation with a player that you know is not working. And I understand that the temperament, the personality, the mentality seems to be far disconnected with Russ and the Lakers. But I guess my thing is, if we can just utilize the talent that is there, be able to kind of rally around each other and say, look, we are dealing with this situation, but we are going to find a way to navigate through this. Yes, Russ is part of a problem that the Lakers are dealing with, but there are a lot of other facets with this team that they can address and make changes now. These 2 out of these 3 games, the Lakers have been in it. 2 out of these 3 games, the Lakers very much had the opportunity to win the game. And we can point at a multitude of facets as to why they did not win that game outside of Russ. Now, I understand we can say it's not even necessarily the play itself. There's just this tone. There's this toxicity that's just emanating, that's resonating, that's just kind of clouding this team. And maybe if we just sent Russ home, then they wouldn't have to necessarily worry about having to address this kind of white elephant in the room, the giant elephant in the room. You're now focusing on the other aspects that you can correct, but that Russ's presence is just creating this much thicker cloud, right? And you even had Kendrick Perkins essentially saying that they just go ahead and send Russ home, right? Like, just the continuity, the chemistry there, it's just contaminated. It's not doing either of them a service to kind of be in this situation still. And I would say that maybe this team would play better if Russ is not on the floor. But I mean, that would solely be from like a mentality standpoint, from a fit. Maybe you kind of just, now everybody can kind of focus in and they're not distracted by all of this, and maybe they play better. But like, just from a talent standpoint, and I mean, you can go ahead and, listeners, viewers, leave your comments as to what you think about this. But I mean, the talent is like, there's not a lot of players on this roster that's going to come in and replace Russ that are going to do exponentially better. And again, you can leave your comments. You can make suggestions as to rotations and players that garner more playing time would be a far better fit than Russ. But I guess it's just kind of a byproduct of how much, or I should say the lack of talent that is on this team collectively, that Russ is still kind of your, like, you have LeBron and Anthony Davis, and then you have the drop, and then there's Russ, and then there's like a little slight drop, and there's everybody else, right? Like, that's just kind of the situation that they're in. And, you know, it's, again, 2 out of the 3 matchups, 2 out of the 3 games, the Lakers very much could have won those games. And I think, like, yes, Russ is part of that reason why they didn't win those games, but there's a lot of other reasons why they didn't. And if they just address those things starting against the Denver Nuggets, they can put themselves on a little bit better of a momentum shift. So we shall see. But I will be posting my follow-up episode after the game. So make sure to have your notification on. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I will go ahead and leave more information in the description as to where you can find me on Twitter. Now, remember, everybody, let's keep the faith. Let's stay calm. Go Lakers. Peace.